go, go, go. Down. Of about myself with, as I say it, or you should probably starting with companion, and there's a she's to on a well, you know, you have on the biology, you know, our feelings and what can I say? Too, and if you want to find out more why we employ some of the okay. Something. He's such a meatball. You know, what you could do is the best nutrition. Good job. Good job. Feel. On. Gym, do something. Hey, what's up, you guys? So, quick feeding raw. As you can see, it's still in the bag. Kind of not entirely thawed, but it'll slide out of the bag easily. Out of the bag, and your job is done. You know, like I said, this is kind of new for me. So here, hanging out with me. So let's get this going. I see some friends on the chat. Reaching out already. That's awesome. Great to see everyone. Yep, she is a timber wolf. Yeah, I'm quite excited to be able to share with you guys this moment. It's almost surreal.
that, you know, about a year ago, I started making videos about how to build your fish tank and talk about, you know, the most appropriate, I don't know, the best approach to creating a habitat for a fish or a cat or a dog or what have you, you know. And it seems pretty apparent that a lot of you have, you know, similar outlook, I should say, you know, like-minded sort of approach, and seeing how things really are, how they're panning out, and how the, you know, results, I should say, really are the proof. You know, as I say, proof is in the pudding. So, a lot of opinions, but what you could do, what you should do, is always try to siphon through the info. So, I definitely encourage, you know, any questions, anybody dare to call. I think I have a earpiece here so I can hear anyone calling in if, you know, need be. But we'll go by the chat box right now, what we have going on here, and I see a few people. I see Nicholas Cruz. He's asked like several times. He's always been so patient about, you know, this live stream going, you know, live. And I see a few others. JC, yeah, great to, you know, see and hear and read your you know, participation. Yep, indeed. We have our own ways here. So I'm just going to jump into some of the topics, some of the questions. You know, everybody perspective, I should say, and mine is very simple. You know, I'm not an inventor of any sort. Simply follow a finding your surroundings and formulating a path, you want to say, or whatever you want to call it, through life without having too much of impact on, you know, on things around you, as we already have. Our footprint is gigantic. We're destroying this planet, you know, and as much as you would like to believe or not, we all affected greatly just to your lifespan. If you were to simply plug in the mathematics, your lifespan is about 70 years or so, yeah, on average, if you're lucky. And on that token, just think about the amount of everything, resources that you use up, one single person, you know, and then you can multiply this by 7, 8 billion now, and you get the idea. So, what I'm getting at is the mindset of humanity, as we know right now. It's more or less consumption, you know. It's a form of survivalism now because it's a competitive world. So we look at, you know, everything in a different perspective. We're kind of forced to look at it in one, you know, from one angle, to where, you know, we subside or whatever, subvert to industrial approach to everything, whether it's healthcare or pet care or everything else. We have gotten comfortable, you know, someone else taking care of things for us. What I mean by that, it's so easy to just walk in the store, pick up a bag of kibble or whatnot, and, you know, that's where your responsibility ends, because, you know, one scoop once a day, whatever, and that's it. That ends, as including a, you know, industrial pet care and the problems and whatever that we are facing with what is popular. I got my own. I just derive mine from experience and from observation and logic, and first and foremost. And I see a lot of folks, you know, almost surprising that anyone would approach it any other way. Well, unfortunate, we don't get to, you know, source all our information at our fingertips as we do today. I mean, think about it. We have internet, you know, and ways of conveying information to each other, sharing information, and having great influence. Like some of the people that I met at Aquashella, I know some of the aquarists, I should call fish keepers. They're well acquainted with that event. It's you know, one of those venues where People from all around the world actually come in and talk about, you know, fish keeping, hobbying and whatnot, which to a certain extent, it is a hobby if you're considering, you know, a 5-gallon tank with a beta in it, an occupation. Whereas I would consider, you know, that just as much of an occupation as taking care of your kid. You know, it's all scaled according to your, let's just say, abilities or capabilities. So with that being said, you know, one person finds fish keeping a hobby because they simply spend half an hour a week with the engagement, whereas others find 4 hours not being enough. You know, so like I said, it's a perspective thing. But in relativity to hobby, you think of it this way: you can collect stamps or baseball cards, and they won't need you for anything. You could just leave them there for months and eons on, and they'll actually collect or, you know, go up in value. Whereas your fish, if you were to leave them alone for that any length of time, they're dead. So yeah, it's a living creature, a living, you know, being. And if you're gonna occupy yourself taking care of one, you best do it, you know, according to their needs, not your whatever perception. Otherwise, like I said, stick with, you know, collecting stamps and maybe baseball cards. Sorry, my mouth is starting to seize. Let's see what else is going on. I'm really like kind of ignoring the chat because it's hard to read so much going on and listen at the same time. But yeah, we have some questions in regards to easy because yeah, I know, I agree. Some of the, so don't want to leave. Basically, at some point you have to become responsible for your actions, and almost on all accounts, and that's just what it is. It's accountability, more or less, because obviously, you know, we're familiar now with a lot of the, you know, changes in our through our, you know, basically poor, you know, practices or irresponsible practices of dumping fish out or whatever, what have you. And now, you know, it is a problem. It's become a huge problem in the waterways of Texas and in Florida, and therefore now banning fish and whatever to once more, you know, correct the issue, which is so too far gone. So, yeah, awareness usually starts with a good conversation, you know. So I invite you to a conversation, simply because, you know, that's where we can mitigate some of the things. So what topics or whatever that token, you guys know a whole lot more from your personal and you know that taking care of your animals should be equal. You can model your everything else simply by watching dogs. The reason being is their lifespan is about the feeding or appropriate feeding and exercise and everything. Whereas with us, ourselves, you know, our physiology is a bit different. And of course, we live longer, everything else takes effect a little bit longer, but yet again, immediate. I'm talking like, you know, several days you'll feel different, several weeks you will not go back. So, you know, it's a mindset that you have to be able to sort of, you know, get past, so to speak, as we have become so comfortable of someone else taking care of us and our kids, etc. Feeding wise, daycare and whatnot. And I know not everyone has the ability to do, you know, whatever, or cook for themselves and whatnot, but we do have grocery stores that have just about everything you could possibly need. You just have to make better choices. And with those choices, you'll find out that this will even, you know, help you with some of your financial situations, because it does help, you know. These two are just losing it. You know, they do. Yeah, it's a great partnership. But yeah, they certainly do have. Gosh, I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry, you guys. Let me tap into this chat again real quick. I see all great old family of fish keepers that I can, you know, as far as back as I can remember. I think, oh no, I met you when you had 60 subscribers or something. I had 80, and it was amazing, you know. And then from that point on, we watch each other, you know, grow. Obviously, you know, our lives are quite different, but we both are animal lovers. So yeah, all Great Danes. Are just been part of our lives, all of our lives. I noticed that right away when I came out with this, you know, video back in the day about raw feeding, you know, and how everybody that keeps fish most likely has a cat or a dog. I have both, you know, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Think about it, you know, it fulfills us. It's the need of, you know, us taking care of something. It's the, you know, sort of nature in us to take care of somebody as we take care of our kids and so forth, you know. So start off with fish tanks. Why do we even start off with fish tanks? Because, you know, it's the miniature environment that we create, that we have sort of control over, you know, that gives us that little bit of, I don't know, connection with the environment that is outside that we don't have time for. You know, we have a ton of obligations, work, professional life, and whatnot, and it's not everyone that's fortunate to just walk outside their door and find a creek right at the end of the driveway, you know, and some other cool things. But we can definitely find a little bit of refuge, and sometimes even therapy, like you know, recovery from other, you know, kind of adverse effects of life, you know, depression and whatnot. I've met some folks that are basically dependent on their companions almost. Some folks bring them to the gym. I mean, believe it or not, there's a lady in my gym. She brings her pooch in there all the time, the most behaving one ever. She can, you know, just chill as she moves from one equipment to another and gets her lift on. Yet, you know, it does something that no one else can, and I can totally relate to it, because I don't know if you guys remember, but some time back, I broke my back, and it paralyzed my right leg, and I went into surgery, and it was a complete failure, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I took the recovery in my own hands, a little late, but nevertheless, it you know, it was a better approach to kind of take the matters in my own hands than rely on someone who was basically looking at me like some, you know, an insurance number or whatever. Just another one in the bucket for the day. So, you know, on the same token, taking care of your pets as well as taking care of yourself, it all reflects on basically the state of mind you're in. You know, if you're locked into some sort of mindset that it's simply, you know, I don't know, it just kept you trapped. Hey, shh, kept you, you know, trapped in this cycle, repetitive cycle of whatever you're doing, and then you're expecting new results. Yeah, you got to just be able to take yourself out of the element, even if it is being super uncomfortable, like I am right now. No, I'm not, but I am kind of, you know, oddly distracted by these two as I'm trying to, you know, I don't know, chat with you guys. Also, let's read some questions over here. Let's see what else you guys have to say. No birds, yeah, no, it's just this. She's a young female and she's playing off to this older, more dominant male. They're gonna go outside, so maybe we'll get a little less noise. Uh, what is my diet? Mike Johnson, okay. My diet is pretty simple. It's probably no different than yours. I just simply choose to make my food. So no drive-throughs, you know, or ready-mades. Pick the ingredients weekly. You shop. I pick up some of my things at the farmers around the area, which is substantially cheaper and uber fresh. So, which then I share with my animals and other ingredients that I, you know, like once more I pick it weekly basis, make my food on the spot, and it's no different than yours. I mean, really, fresh veggies, you know, meats of all kinds, right, you know, portions or, you know, ratios. But same thing, just what I need, nothing I don't. So that, especially corn fructose garbage. So that for sure, out of your diet, immediate changes. Although I splurge a little bit on cookies and things, I choose the ones that are with cane sugar or some other type of sugar, as I do have a need for sugar, but avoiding the synthesized, processed crap. So better choices, simply start by going back to basics. Anything you cannot pronounce on your label, most likely not for you. Anything else that just came out of the dirt and still got some dust on it, that's the stuff you want to eat. So I know it's super basic. My feeding is super basic as well. I don't eat on Sundays. My body can. Omnivorous, you know, as in who can eat vegetables and meat, and I choose to eat more meat than vegetables simply because I require more. That's pretty much to live. You don't live to eat. Yeah. What else we got going on? That beard, JC. Oh man, like a year. I think right when I started the channel, I decided I wasn't gonna. It creeped up. It launched the very first video. And it's just getting gnarlier and more comfortable now as it's getting lengthier. Believe it or not, I'm getting used to it. What else we got here? Fish Freak. Now, my man, Fish Freak. Fish Freak is a, you know, I gotta say, he's a comrade because his dogs, it'll put me to shame. And training and everything else, even associations and family pack order and whatnot. This man is really something else. I mean, his dog is able to forage, literally forage for himself into the woods, and then share his catch with his owner. So totally different level. Even his neighbors appreciate it. Appreciate the you know, protection that this dog has given them from all the unwanted wildlife. Because believe me, coyotes and, you know, wolves and whatnot, they're part of it. Part of it, just like piranhas are part of the fish keeping hobby. Live feeding and such, you know, when you think about it, it is just like live feeding. The, you know, animal gets to catch their food instead of receiving it in the same shape, you know, whatever, with the same ingredients over and over for his lifespan, you know. And this guy, I mean, Fish Freak, yeah, you're in another level, my friend. Prey model diet, that's just pro level. What else we got here? Gosh, let me see. Uh, oh, sorry, it just kind of lost that one right there. Yeah, cane corsos considered one of those as well. You know, big. large breeds of dogs. I mean, I allow a lot of folks are enthusiasts of, you know, just bigger dogs in general, which are always more maintenance. I mean, just by default, think about it. They eat so much more, they require more space and everything else. Their vet bills get bigger too. You know, with raw feeding, I gotta say, a remarkable, you know, achievements for people who have kept large breeds before and then they switch and then they notice the difference. You know, the dog is leaner, healthier, lives much longer. You know, starting from the teeth down to the digestive system, you know, we already know dogs are carnivores. Larger dogs are just so much easier to observe the difference in a smaller dog. It really is a lot, you know, easier to pick up on it. So what else we got going on here? What's up with the new tank? Oh, JC, I'm picking on you, but yeah, you know, I got a quote on the glass for the bow front that I was setting up in a corner, and it just blew my mind. I mean, I couldn't possibly justify that kind of bill, you know, having kids and other bills. So yeah, no, that was kind of on a hold, screech on hold, but I did spot it, a 500 and a 600 acrylic, which I'm not too fond of acrylics, but I found a 500 glass with a stand, everything soup to nuts, which will be a great addition for the 17 piranhas that I'll be putting in there all at the same time. Yeah, I mean, it should be ridiculous. Those feedings are gonna be, you know, double the intensity, if not more, because the larger the pack, you know, the greater the ability to dissipate some of their frustrations and aggression, and at the same time they build each other up, you know. What else we got going on? Ivan, what's up, buddy? I know some of you guys I totally recognize right away because I see your comments constantly pop up in my videos. I so appreciate that because it just, you know, hey, it gives me the comfort of knowing that we're not just, you know, we're not just chatting up, blowing up smoke up our home screen. Yeah, check out that little ball. That's usually the dose of about a half a pound that I would feed to my Aziza. She's a Shih Tzu Yorkie. She's about, you know, 15 pounder. She's also on the raw. I started her off on a raw after 2 years of eating kibble, and you know, her tooth decay and everything else was already so prominent. I was like, what the anywho? So a little bit of switching and putting her on the right stuff eliminated all her allergies, including the itch that she had in her ear, which would cause her to shake her head and then develop hematoma in her ear, and then another ear. They were like balloon-sized ears which had to be drained, you know, with a needle and stuff. Yeah, fun. Did it all at home. And yeah, it creates like a cauliflower effect after whatnot. Our vet told us we have to pull the hair out of her ear because that's what's causing it. She needs to have a canal exposed, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how is this possible that nature would create such a, you know, I don't know, deficiency or malfunction within this dog's physiology of his ear canal that he would have to rip the hair out in order to feel better, hear better, and all that. Nonsense. Nonsense. All went away when I switched to raw. So here it goes. You know, vet theories right away. I have plenty of those. I got to tell you another one. I took Zulu. He was about 3 months old. So he was chunky already, you know, kind of gobbler, as I call him. And he was playing with some stuff, and then suddenly a little box card, you know, one of those metal cards, disappeared. So I wasn't sure if he freaking ate that thing or not. And then he was just fed a little bit earlier. And I got to tell you, I wasn't sure. So I took him to the vet and thinking, you know, x-rays would quickly tell me what's in his stomach cavity. The vet came, picked up the, you know, dog, whatever, brought him back, and he said, "You were so right." I was like, what? No way, this damn dog ate the freaking car, you know, ate the box card. No, he didn't eat the box card, but the vet was, "You're right, there was something wrong with your dog. Look at all the bones that he has in his stomach." I'm like looking at the bones, I'm thinking, those are all the bones I fed him, dude. They're all chicken necks, you know, ground down, broken down vertebrae. And he goes, "Yeah, you can't feed raw to your dogs because it's, you know, gonna kill them, give them parasite and blah, blah, blah." And I'm looking at him like, I've been feeding my dogs now for how long? They're all doing just fine. By the way, where's that boxcar I've been asking about? And he goes, there's no boxcar, there's nothing wrong, it's just his bones, you know, and this and that. And he gives me a lecture of how animals such as dogs should not be, you know, eaten raw because, you know, the risks are so high. And yet I asked him, so what about the wolves in the wild? You know, what do they eat? Kibble? And he goes, well, no, but do you know how long wolves in the wild live? And I'm like, yeah, about a couple decades on average. And he goes, no, 5 to 7 years, because then they die from some diseases and such. And I looked at him, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. They would have extinct, number one. Number two, you should probably call the university you got your diploma from and get your money back. Anyway, let's not get into that, but that was our last visit to that vet, and the next couple of vet visits were quite similar, you know, very opposed sort of outlook on raw, because it simply eliminates the vet need for a vet. So there you go, I said it. You start going raw, you're going to be seeing your vet once a year for a checkup or a vaccine, whatever it's called, rabies shot, which is mandatory, the only one I give my dogs. And sure enough, yeah, but eventually, like now, there's more and more vets. They're coming around. They're coming around the corner because they cannot dispute the results, the facts, that if you feed your animal better, just like you feed yourself better, there's no need to go to a doctor nearly as often. So hey, logic versus feelings. But industrial pet care, as well as, you know, health care, leads you to believe that you need to blindly believe everything you were told at a doctor's office, instead of just going back to your 7th grade biology class and, you know, looking some stuff up. That's what I did. What else we got going on here? My friends, this is kind of awesome. I mean, the chat is just like, I don't know, is it like always like that? But it's great. Oh, the mic is really quiet? Sorry. Maybe I'm just not talking loud enough. Turn up the audio. Everyone says we need to turn up the audio, I guess. I'm pretty much yelling over here, so I'm surprised that you guys can't hear me, but thanks for the feedback. Tac. We need to turn up the audio. Maybe I'm turning something down here. I'm gonna turn up the audio right now. I gotta hide this label since I'm not getting sponsored. Yeah. All right, my friends. Bad location for the mic, maybe. It's right under my beard, you know? It was kind of concealed, so I don't know. The garage is giving mad echo. Oh yeah, maybe that's it. You see, guys, that's it. That's the beginning of you know, of our adventures on live stream. I'm trying to maybe get consistent, a little more consistent with it, and trying to do it every week, so you guys know when to expect. Jump in, think of some questions, any directions you want to take this, you know, this chat to, this stream. I mean, I would be glad to talk about some of your experiences, you know, especially since we've all had all kinds of run-ins with things, you know. Like I said, I'm not all-knowing by no means, but I'm willing to learn, you know, observe more, you know, information, and that kind of what makes me adaptive. And I think that's, you know, that's the best way to be. Be adaptive, you know, modular, whatever, flexible. Yeah, headphones working out better. I'm gonna try all kinds of things next time around. I hope you guys can hear something, anything. Yeah, 7 years, Wilds and the Wolf. I mean, seriously, I was like stunned when I heard that coming out of a freaking a doctor equivalent educated man, woman, it was a man, who said basically wolves in the wild live 5 to 7 years. And he's telling me that right after he laced my dog up with some drugs and then some hydrating other things. By the time I went home, my dog has developed some straight up phobia of being in the car. Every time he jumps in the car, he feels foams in the mouth and he gets all pukey. Bad reflex, sort of, you know, from that one occurrence, which was pretty pretty serious for me, even, you know, to have experienced that and have heard that from a trusted source like your vet, who's encouraging you to feed your dog sawdust, which is found about 30% in most kibble. So, yeah, my friends, that's just kind of where we arrive with this strange way of taking care of stuff, you know, just by looking at the surface. That's just not the way it goes, you know. What else we got? Yeah, no, you know, I'm 40. This is Meme. He's asking me if I'm running any cycles. The truth is, I'm 44 years old with a broken back and a paralyzed leg, and now losing my feelings in my hands. So something's wrong with my neck in addition. So I'm sure my doctors would like me to take all kinds of goodies, you know, to mitigate that stuff, including the elephant that sits on my back ever since the surgery. But, you know, hey, just find another way to kind of work things out, you know, through nutrition and good training. I've done my work already in the last 20 few years, so no need for trying to break records. How many times, Nicholas Cruz asking how many times a week do I feed the piranhas and the barbarians? You know the barbarians thinned out massively. I mean, you know this for sure. It was right after chipmunk feeding. I tell you, the debris from the chipmunk, the nuts or whatever, pine cones, pine nuts, literally just obliterated the tiger, colony, I would say, and something triggered in the piranha that the next following night they actually pursued it as food, and by morning we had only like 2 or 3 left in the tank. Anyway, I feed piranhas about twice a week. If it's a decent sized chub or a solid frog, then yeah, twice a week. If it's something small, unsubstantial, not substantial, or like a bunch of worms, night crawlers, or shrimp, or some insects, then 3 times a week. And if I get something big, like the chipmunk or the snake, that's like 5 days no food. So again, accordingly, just like in the wild, there is no schedule when you're going to eat. You don't just wake up, open up a meat locker, and get you, munch on. You have to scavenge or hunt down, find it, and hopefully catch and kill without getting injured yourself in order to feed. So you're going hungry most of your time. Get used to it, but that's what gives you longevity, believe it or not. And it's another topic that some like to, maybe get deeper in. We'll talk about it next time, perhaps. But fasting is as old as nature itself. So some folks found it in the Bible. All it means is basically it works. We've been using it for thousands, I don't know, millennia. Where going hungry is just good for you now and then. Anyway, what else we have here? Dead fry, Mr. They all have food. Yeah, alkaline foods. Oh, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, forgive me, because I always do. I'm like a Polski second generation with 4 different languages mixed into my brain. Sometimes it takes me like 2 hours to switch back to Polish. And I grew up in Poland, so imagine that. When you start dreaming in different languages, you get all mixed up. But Dead Fire 821. I'm starting to eat alkaline foods. How simple. Look at it. Biochemistry, which is basically my territory, but that's all that we're made out of, physics, biochemistry. If you really break it down to just that, then you stop confusing yourself with anything else. Everything else becomes just rhetoric and opinions, and a lot of campaigning, promotional campaigns from the food fabricators, whatever manufacturers. They're trying to convince us and put that warm blanket over you so you feel cozy and fun and happy when you're feeding your dog kibble that you pay $120 a bag for. Holy crap. Yeah, I know, I did that. Yeah. What do we got going on? Yeah, back and neck, I know. It's treacherous territory because you're sort of, it is your spine. I mean, there's a good saying when someone someone tells you you're spineless, whatnot, because you're weak and whatever, soft. It's kind of it is. It's the pillar of your body. So having so much going on in my spine, which I found out some kind of deterioration, probably genetic, blah, blah, blah. All I can do is kind of slow it down by proper nutrition, exercise, and such and such. Actually, what I did first is start taking stuff out of my diet. Just like I took the diet out of my dog's menu, all the kibbles and whatnot, I went back to raw. And for myself, I went back to just simple foods. Simple foods, stuff that I simply pull out of the ground or make it myself, you know, something I can pronounce without any confusion. Oh, no problem, Nick. I appreciate you guys reaching out and putting out some cool, you know, questions. I didn't even choose a moderator, and I was expecting some major troll skis because I know I've had some before. People, I think vegans or whatnot, attacking me over some, you know, some of the techniques or methods of live feeding and why, and cruelty and sadism and whatnot. Whereas I ask them over and over again to think before you react. Because this is nature, you know, this nature may be on a micro scale in my fish tank, but it's no different for those 9 piranhas who I raised since, you know, 3/4 inch than a piranha that grows up in the Amazon. It has no idea that it's not in Amazon. It lives out its instinctive life. Its instinctive life, which I provide through live feeding, you know, and the full aspect of the decor and water quality and plants and everything else. You guys already know. What I'm saying is, you know, it's specific to that need of that particular fish. The fish itself may or may not know whether it's living in an Amazon river or in my 220-gallon tank downstairs. So, yeah, that's the same thing. Well, in perspective, it's similar for us. You know, many of us, or most of us, have not left this globe, you know, our home. Yeah. And, you know, and we assume that it's this or that because you've simply been told, you've been, you know, given the information, and your capacity only allows you to, you know, I don't know, understand so much. So think of it this way. Simpler, the better. I took stuff out of my diet. I took noise out of my life. I've also cut off a lot of ties from people that were just basically, you know, no good influence, and you already know that. This is a recipe for success that everyone will tell you. Surround yourself with whatever. Truth is, you become who you hang out with. That's what I was told when I was a little kid. And man, does that work as a apparent truth. I mean, you could be different. Like I've always been considered a black sheep in my family, but you're still going to become like the people you surround yourself with, you know? That's just what happens. Or you're going to influence the people around you, and they'll all become like you. So it's up to you, what you do and what you know. You know, I mentioned it in the other thing earlier, like an intro, that you want to be participant, not so much as a spectator, because then you have no input. How could you expect some kind of, you know, outcome? So, anywho, let's do. Yeah, I do natural meat. Yeah, totally. Vegan ranas. I don't know. No vegan ranas. I mean, I guess there's Pacu and other cousins, close cousins of the tetra family, you know, which piranhas are kind of deriving from. And there's other piranha keepers or whatever who will say, oh yeah, I feed my, you know, piranhas cucumbers and this and that and zucchinis, and they eat it and love it and stuff. And it's probably true. They probably love it because they're lacking basic freaking nutrition that you're not providing otherwise by feeding it frozen fillets and pellets that you have to lace with garlic pills or whatnot. That's crazy to me. It's like, what? That's the same thing as giving antibiotics to, you know, our kids, which they need to develop immune system first and foremost so they can fight it later on. Another aspect of immune system and how closely it correlates to your eating and growth and everything else. And think of it this way, it's your only ally that's always got your back, and it will never confuse you until you confuse it. So when you screw up your, you know, immune system, then you're susceptible to all sorts of problems and let the medicine begin. They'll wreck this while trying to fix that. And you become a customer instead of a patient. Instead of getting cured, yeah, you become, like I said, the best custody. So circle back into simplicity and start with your fish or dogs or whatever, because you notice a difference immediately because their lifespan is so short. If you can notice there and then, you know, still deny the facts or dispute the results, then yeah, you got no one to blame but yourself that you're trapped in this bullshit, you know. I don't know, whatever. What else we got going on? Fish freak. Too many people are no longer in touch with nature. Yeah, no, that's where it starts. You're no longer in touch with nature, but you are nature. Holy crap, it's crazy. You know, to me, that's literally what breaks my mind sometimes when I read some of the comments left on my videos in regards to sadistic, whatever, and then I hear Netherlands has banned live feeding, live fishing altogether. On what basis? You're not degrading the environment, you're not breaking anything other than nature's laws. So I'm really not sure, how does someone comes off censoring nature? That's just my opinion. You know, that's what I start. I mean, I've dealt a little bit of censorship myself, you guys have heard. I'm not sure to switch to this angle once in a while. I don't want to bore you with the same thing, but you know, I have been under somewhat of a watch, under an eye from YouTube about my videos. You know, some of the videos have been age restricted, and then they were, you know, released back to whatever, to general public, and then age restricted again, and then so on and so forth. I think I've dealt with a triple jeopardy actually on that topic, which came just about where the guidelines and everything else have changed for YouTube. Whatever that may mean, you know, guidelines are changing and everything else, and something has to, you know, give and whatnot. I'm just confused to where the censorship starts or where it ends, and what is or what isn't appropriate, and you know. So I just kept it again simple, kept it the same. Apparently they have seen through it more than just a spectacle and, you know, fun times of fish eating fish, which most have found grotesque and unsettling. Whereas it's quite okay to watch, say, another fish, like an Oscar or a bass, gobble up the fish, and once it's out of sight, out of mind, it's all good. Yeah, I know. It's selective natures or selective activism. We have plenty of that going on. I know I don't want to get political, but I'm sure out there, you know, some of you guys are conservatives and Democrats and whatnot. I myself grew up back in, you know, Poland, when I was a teenager, and a socialistic country, and believe me, I want no part of that sort of, you know, lifestyle here where you're being told literally everything what you can do, say, shop, eat, or even go to bed. Anyway, so think about your options, you know, or where you have your freedoms, and exercise them, because if you don't, you lose them. It's just like with your muscles. If you don't hit the pile or you don't do something, you don't stay active, they start to, you know, go into atrophy, wither down, and then you can't expect to, say, run away from an intruder or something like that because you have zero conditioning, or say, beat the shit out of someone that has tried to harm you or your kid. Because to me, that would be a natural, instinctive reaction instead of dialing the call or phone and having somebody else come take care of my problem. But that's just me, you guys. So whether you can relate or not, the idea is the same. You know, be a participant, not a spectator. All right, what other questions do we have? Yeah, I know. I'm gonna do some live feeding. Maybe like live feeding. Imagine that. Live feeding, live streaming, right? That would be great. But then we'll have to relocate to the cave, to the Bearski cave. I don't want to do it there, you know, this part, because it's so dark and we have none of the equipment nor the space, you know, to fit it there. And also, being the first go around, we want to make sure that, you know, at least some of the things are worked out and, you know, at least going smoothly. As you can see, or as you saw, not everything, you know, goes as you plan or expect. So What else we got going on, Bearski? All right. Yeah, Bearski 2020. No, you joking. Trust me. Oh my goodness. I'll be the first one to press the button. And if you don't know what that means, probably look it up. You'll probably hear that metaphor before, but there's no way you can make everyone happy. We just have to figure out a way to kind of get past that and, you know, agree to disagree. Otherwise, experiencing some of the diversity as you per se. I was an immigrant. I've, you know, got here 1992, 17 years English. It was just not in my interest. I lived right next to Russia and Germany, so I spoke a little bit of both. I gotta say, it was a cultural shock. It's the lights, not to mention the grocery stores filled with everything you could possibly think of in every, you know. So, yeah, you have to adapt, you know. Stuck in your ways and everyone else is going to confirm to you or whatnot or try, or how's that going to work? You're the visitor, you're the guest, or you're going to put in some work, some effort and try to of the culture and everything else, picking up some English, going to school, going to college, all that helped a great deal to, you know, choose to become a citizen later and everything else. And this becoming my second home or third or so. So you guys make the best of what you know given and the opportunities that have been given. And I think that's a good way to kind of go through life without blaming anybody for shit that happens to you, or it doesn't happen. I don't know. Bearski for president. You guys are killing me. I know there's some. Oh, there's messages held for review. So I guess we got some Trollskis coming to, you know, visit. Drop a word. It's cool. Like I said, we all have different opinions. I mean, if your sole whatever motivation is to be, you know, disruptive or bring attention to yourself and whatnot, it's short-lived. People can see through it. All right, what else we got going on? I think we're running on an hour long. I think it's pretty good for a first time. I didn't get any phone calls, but it's cool. I think this is just a surreal experience to talk to you guys, and I hope we can do this again and make that, you know, a little bit more about you guys than about me. So hopefully we'll talk to, you know, some new guests. I have in mind a couple of guests that I would like to invite to talk about, you know, things that will shed a different light, different perspective on some of the things that, you know, we all get involved in, you know, as hobbyists or, you know, as animal lovers and as whatever, just as human beings too, because obviously we have ties, you know, close ties to why we have animals, why we keep animals, and for some, they do much more than for others. Not really sure which camera I should be looking at. That one? No, this one? This one, okay. All right, you guys. Yeah, I will show you more of the fish. I mean, I'm right now in the studio kind of set up in the garage, but this is our rough beginnings. You know, you got to think about where we started and where we're gonna end up. It's just who knows. Like I said in one of my videos some time back, yeah, I think it was with the raw and uninhibited about feeding and such. You know, so if you guys want to check out some of my content on the channel and kind of get familiar with more about the raw and my techniques, feedings, methods, and whatnot, check it out. And we'll be right back. I think we're going to take a quick break. All right, you guys. Almost there? I'm just going to read through some of the chat, so freshen up on it. Okay.
Welcome back. It's our first edition of live streaming the Bearski method. You know, we'll talk about anything and everything that I get into, that I occupy myself with, as I say it. This is not a hobby. As I've mentioned it before, you should probably really take a better care of what you already have, starting with your kids and pets and your own health. It's me, Marek. Everyone calls me Bearski. This is Zulu, my companion, and there's Aziza. Come here, girl. Haj, do Haj. Yep, she's one of the shy ones, but she runs the household. Anywho, I just invite you over for a quick look at my cave, at my methods. Basically, the way I find a best way to, or I found the best way to take care of my companions, and doing so on a full spectrum, whether it's piranha fish or a Rottweiler, just a dog. The mentality is the same, you know, you have to approach it for what it is, for what it really is on a biological and on scientific level first before we add to, you know, our feelings and emotions into it. And yeah, you know, what can I say? The proof is in the pudding. So stay tuned if you want to find out more, if you would like to learn how and, you know, why we employ some of the methods. Okay. Yeah, Zulu, say something. A meatball, I'm telling you, dude. Such a meatball. All he wants is some attention. Like every other dog, basically, some time, and that's it. That's all they need. Get the ball. Good boy. Good job. Good job. Good job, Nico. Yes, my friend, just like in the wild, your animal, your carnivorous friend over here is going to have to earn his meal. Get his food on. He's got to earn his meal, just like us. So go to the gym, do something productive, and then worry about the sustenance. Hey, what's up, you guys? So quick feeding raw. As you can see, it's still in the bag. Kind of not entirely thawed, but it'll slide out of the bag easily. That's the whole idea. That's all you have to do is get it out of the bag and your job is done. Oh, we're back. Shoot, see that's right. Yep. They're back too. Sorry. If you guys see too much ambient noise or whatnot coming on, I know we're not in the perfect setting just yet, but we're working on it. And we, what I mean by we is me and my partner, Marcel, who's always in the background doing what he does. Yeah, was let's see. That was a 6 commercial break. Thanks, man. We just like winged it literally last night.
at midnight. I don't know what else to do, but man, there's so much preparations, and life doesn't stop for, none of this, because we still have other things going on. I have a couple of kids, bunch of dogs, fish and whatnot. So trying to, make do's and balance everything appropriately at the level of its responsibility. So yeah, if you call something a hobby, you're gonna treat it like it. That's what I'm saying, And somebody kind of, I don't forget, attacked my my interview with King of DIY Joe Mullen from Canada. The guy's like a super uber popular YouTuber that we all look up, for some advice. I have too. I found him the first time on video DIY inline heating, which I employ on all of my tanks, keeping all the components, mechanic components, whatever, outside of the fish tank, leaving more room for my fish and keeping it more natural. So yeah, Joe's influence is tremendous on what we do in the hobby or whatever, and the camaraderie that has come with it. How many people have joined the FishTube community or the community of fish keepers and found some, encouraging words, and not always about fish and such, but many times about, just life in general and how we get through it, and how sometimes, we can relate to others. One other fish tuber. I say fish tuber because, there's so many layers of YouTubing nowadays, but he's uber popular as well, got his own nation of followers and whatnot. His name is IFG, you guys heard of him, Inquisitive Fish Guy, and I actually was honored to guest him in my house where he made a recording of a live feeding in my house. It was cool. We got to chat and talk about all kinds of stuff, and he gave me some insights on basically how things are since he's more established and way more popular. He gets to really get the info, the down on everything else. So it was great collaborating with him. Another great event, like I said, that took place in Aquashella in Chicago, where I interviewed, which was super awesome because I think he wasn't expecting it at all. I didn't even ask him for permission, but I did anyway. I kind of interviewed the king of DIY, Joe Mullen, and I talked to him about basically where is he heading from where he's at now, what's coming up next. I mean, he's 1.3 million deep in subscribers, going to all these events, he's a public figure now. Whether or not he was going to do a TV show or something like that, And he said, no, I just wanted to keep it on the hobby level, which means being able to relate to people like us who are doing it on many levels, whether it's 5 gallon all the way to several hundred, and the effort that you put into it. It all is relative, He was trying, or he is simply able to still, relate to folks by keeping it at the hobby level communication, which means his life, his YouTube channel and his videos and everything else is so real. This last video he released too about losing the arowana, I was like, man, what is this, 9 fish out of 3,000? That's insane, I mean, he's just awesome at what he does. He's nowhere near on hobbyist level. He's using that word simply to relate to folks like us, but he's no hobbyist, and we already know that. So don't confuse that. Don't take words out of, whatever, and turn them against somebody, because that's not nice. Anyway, call it for what it is. That's how I do it. I know I'm not going to gain any popularity by calling someone out, but I have it on the tip of my tongue. There's one fish tuber that just, oh man, I mean, all sorts of irresponsible decisions just to gain likes. I mean, he even acknowledges the fact that, that what he does was a mistake, and yet he repeats it in the next video. So whatever. There's a bunch of those as well. Yeah, hey, some interesting questions here. So, I got plans for a plywood tank. Oh man, plywood tanks, right? What an awesome way to really blow up your enclosure or the habitat for your companions, for your critters, without spending like billions of dollars, which is you know, unattainable for some. It was unattainable for me to get this glass or acrylic bow front sheet way before I even began construction or anything else or sourcing the fish. So yeah, you know, it's realistic. We are realists, and that's how you have to approach everything you do, including the, you know, maintenance for your fish tank, because getting a huge tank is one thing, but then maintaining it is another. And you're like, well, I'm gonna get this whatever awesome puppy, and next thing you know, the puppy is out. Time and effort and everything else that you don't have or you're unwilling to spend, and the rest you already know. So maintenance that you will not have time to, you know, to spend, and guess what? Things go poopy on you, and then next thing you know, you're going to be blaming the hobby or the fish. Yeah, I may be kind of rough around the edges at times, you know, when I talk about things or where I address things. I address them quite direct. It's, hey, stop. Anyway, not so great by others, and I think it has something to do with the fact that we're like all that, and you know what? When at the end of the day, all the decisions, even the opinions on some of, that's what it is. Someone's creating content, doing it doesn't necessarily go well. The scope, attacking your person, you already know. Trolls. What else? Yeah, you're trying to start a feeding for your cat raw. Yeah. As far as feeding your carnivorous companions like cats and dogs. Okay, I can't hear myself think. Like your cats and dogs or stuff, you can rely on stores, but just think of it this way: every time you go shopping for yourself and you pick up some chicken, whatever, you know, thighs, breasts, and whatnot, maybe also pick up some of the parts that you normally wouldn't pick up, you know, like the chicken backs or the gizzards, or which is a true miracle of any kind of arthritic problems, even for large, massive, you know, heavy dogs, which always have hip dysplasias. So you wanna implement these supplemental, you know, nutrition things, but shop at a grocery store, not at a pet store, for your food for your companions. You know, pick up the uglies, the cut-offs, the snips, and all that. Make a good blend out of it. Make sure it's at least 90% meat, you know, and you're there. Because the other parts is something you cannot obtain, you know. Vegetables and cellulose is something that carnivores cannot digest, especially cats. Cats are carnivore obligates, which means they can strictly and only get their food from the prey they kill. Or grass or anything else, cellulose that they'll find and eat will be consumed through pre-digested process obtained from the prey they kill. No other way. Same thing goes for your dog. As much as they're very adaptive because they are domesticated, as we call them, they will eat bread, they'll eat grain, they'll eat whatever. They will. They will because they're adapted to eating, being around us. But believe me, if they had a choice, that'll always be meat, because that's what they are, carnivores, first and foremost. Just like people who choose to be vegans because they have feelings, so they choose to eat, you know, grass and vegetable, whatever, protein and everything else, taking out animal protein, animal fats out of their diets, and then quickly resorting back. 80% of vegans return back to eating meat. You know why? Because health problems. Not because they suddenly had a change of heart or something, or someone else appealed to them through great propaganda or promotion. But simply because the physiology and the biochemistry of your freaking body dictates what you should or should not eat. Simple again, 7th grade biology. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about, convincing anyone to anything. It's about simply informing yourself, I mean, if you were given the choice of living, 100 years, healthy 100 years, versus 50 squanderish, miserable, dependent years on someone else to care for you, and anyone would choose the second. Think about it this way. Your fish are like freaking prisoners. You can't say that this is no difference because it's identical. A human being in a prison system will receive shelter, will receive food, substandard, definitely, 2nd grade food, and about your life 50, 60 years into, end of your existence, and very poor quality of life, but yet you still live out to a long length of life, or possibly to a long length of life. That's no argument for saying that what you're doing is okay. Because on the other hand, me or anyone else that's free to go about could live 70 years of wonderful years of eating what they want, having children, marriage, and everything else, traveling and experiencing great things, and dying at 40 from some accident or airplane crash or whatnot. And think about that. Which one would you choose? Would you rather live 60, 70 years locked up in a prison cell, but live into 70, or live in 40, but experiencing full spectrum life, happiness, and everything else that you can think of? Just like the fish or the dog who's under your care. So, yeah, gotta get off the God syndrome and start thinking about someone else before yourself. That's where it starts. Yeah, sad thing about vegans. You know what's sad? That people will again induce feelings before logic and arrive at some freaking off-the-wall conclusion or opinion that someone is doing something that it's hurting someone else without really looking at the greater, picture. The effect that we have, the effect that we have on agriculture, or the planet itself through our agriculture, is more than apparent. If nowhere near in this, natural world you would see, acres upon acres of cornfields feeding from everything from a dog to a human and everything in between, from a fuel to oil, coming from one source. That's just it's just like kibble to me. Same size, same shape, same crap every day, and you'll see the results. Your dog dies at 10 with some chronic diseases and such, or cat, or ourselves, by stuffing our face with cereal bars and whatever same shape garbage that someone mass produces, to satisfy our feelings. Feelings that are being, upset. Feelings that get upset. Feelings that get, stirred up when you hear about a chicken losing its head, before it gets dismembered and then square-shaped for you in your drive-through. That's nonsense. What sort of logic is that? When you think about it, like something has to die for another thing to live. That's just how this globe, how this nature operates. It's been like this for eons, for millions of years. You're doing that still even when you choose to be a vegan. You know how? Because you are perpetuating this agriculture that is disintegrating an entire species, entire ecosystems, not to mention destroying our planet. And you think you're advocating for what? For not killing a couple squirrels or some shit, when you're killing or wiping out entire ecosystem by promoting mass farming. Anyway, cool topic. I'm pretty enthused about that kind of stuff because I grew up in a small farmette with my grandpa, having a couple cows, a goat and something else, and 50 chickens and some other things, and yet this man was able to feed half the town out of a couple acres. This was back in the days when stores would be empty and you would stand in line for about 4 hours. Great camaraderie among your neighbors and friends to stand in line and chat it up, have a cigarette or whatnot. But then again, once you enter the store, there was like vodka and sausage. That's it. Get out. You had to farm if you wanted more. If you wanted to have something, you need to put the effort, and then you would yield some sort of results or some sort of product. Sustainability, yes, my friend. Scott, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Sustainability, meaning, you know, take what you need and you will get by for another day, just like we have learned, or a lot of other nations have learned to basically derive energy in a way that we can renew it and, you know, continue on doing it without affecting our surroundings, or minimal effect. Arlena, I'll take my extra scraps from hunting and keep it for my pet. Months, I've introduced them for the first time to venison, and a Craigslist ad. A hunter contacted me, and you know, he took whatever he needed and the rest is going to whatnot. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Threw it in the freezer because obviously it's wild meat, so parasite is quite a, you know, possibility. After one, you know, whatever time, I basically chopped it up and fed it. Connection to the, you know, wild caught sort of. I've migrated into chubs, another type of fish, and not just my fish diet, my piranha diet, but into my dogs and cats diet, where I feed them a lot of that as well. And it is raw and uninhibited, you know, just straight out of the creek, so to speak. I tend to freeze things first for my dogs and cats because it's just so much easier to maneuver and operate things. But preparing, you know, 100 pounds of food or so for you carnivores, it does take a little bit of effort, you know, preparations. It's all in prepping, but it is so rewarding because you see the effects, and you know, and you know exactly what's in the food. There's no byproduct. There's nothing, you know. Just like your own food. You make your own food. You know what's in it. You don't have to worry about, you know, quality as much. And the costs are significantly lower. I know the argument of kibble versus raw is strong. You know, people think, oh gosh, you know, it's dogs or my cats, and it's like, no one's asking you to buy no steaks. I mentioned gizzards, heads, feet. Eat anyway. It gets wasted. And appreciate it so much. And that's exactly what you got to do. Feed your animals table food before you cook it, and you're already 10 steps ahead of kibble. 10 steps. You've changed in the game right there. Once you go into raw, like completely raw, and know what to do and how to prepare, it's like going pros, you know? It's like expecting your dog to live 20 years and not have chronic illnesses and the shine and the teeth and everything else. It's so apparent. It's unequivocal. You know, you can't dispute it by any way, shape, and norm, and that's exactly why veterinarians are not switching. We went to a summit. I went to a summit, which we got invited to next year. Awesome. And met like ton of people, companies, 18 doctors, 30 vendors who are specializing in raw. And I tell you, man, this is no longer just some rhetoric. This is, like I said 6 to 7 months ago, becoming a standard, my friends. So you got a dog, you got to feed it right, or cat, just like a kid. You used to, it was okay to drive in a car with no seat belts and smoking your cigarettes. Guess what? You do it now, you get a ticket. Not only because it's not okay because, you know, someone said so, because it really isn't okay, man. You're hurting your kid. You put them in danger, unnecessary shit. So that's the same thing for your dog. Why stuff him with sawdust and give him euthanized animals to eat as his meal? Dog eat dog world, literally. Whereas you can choose to even give him scraps. The same stuff you buy in the grocery store that you end up throwing away, give that to them. And poof, here goes all the problems and all the, you know, other issues as far as expense and whatnot. What else we have here? All right, I guess we should be wrapping this up, my friends. I know I can go on about these topics forever, you know, and it really helps to kind of hear some of you guys bring in your own, you know, experiences and aspects of the very, very real, you know, concept of feeding raw, eating raw, being, you know, as natural as possible, or no longer being some sort of hoax and whatnot, you know. Yeah, I mean, you know, which parts of the animals you feed. I mean, it's not a just like, it's not a do for all. Of even preparing, training your animal to be able to move from just raw feed, or as they call it, prey model diet. You know, that's where the animal consumes entire small bunny or something like that. It's a totally different. It's just not. Shh. You go to grocery store, you do pick food for yourself. That's where you. Dogs, excellent food, just as good as for yourself. It's not as. I know I'm getting too far into that. Let's see what else we can mention, talk about. I think that for today's, you know, edition, I think this is a great start. I'd like to, you know, really thank you guys for coming and sharing this hour and a half with me, and you know, giving me some ideas, as well as be able to work out some of the kinks, some of the things that we have to, you know, still work on. And I really appreciate this. So hopefully we'll see you again next week, same time, 2 o'clock. And if you guys have any suggestions as far as better time or whatever, always leave some comments, you know, in the community chat or under the videos. Shh. Or even under this video, you know, the replay of it, so I can check it out and always draw some feedback from you, some ideas, you know. So cool, it was awesome. Really appreciate everyone for attending. I know I might have come off, like I said, a little direct at times, but bear with me, my friends. I don't mean to, you know, offend anyone. If I have, I will definitely, you know, try to I'll get better, you know, a little smoother at conveying some of this information that I found very passionate, you know, that I found very important for us to kind of address, you know, especially since it bleeds into our lives all the way to the very basics of raising our kids, pets, and, you know, all that stuff. So we're certainly appreciate, you know, you know, we learn from each other, and I think that we really don't take in the knowledge unless it comes from like an interesting source. I'm not saying I'm the most interesting guy, but hey, you know, if I can appeal to someone out there to give it a listen, pay attention, and if it helped out in some way, anyway, which I know it will, because as I said before, truth will set you free. What I'm talking about is absolute truth, biological, scientific truth. Keep very, very basic and fundamental, and that's kind of where we're going to keep everything at, you know, not getting too much emotions and feelings, but keep it super, super simple. But yeah, no, without a doubt, we have the human aspect into everything. I'm just saying, moderate that, you know, keep a lid on the feelings, please. I mean, look what's happening all around us. We can't talk to each other. We can't even compliment each other without worrying about offending someone at some point. So, on that notion, as always, I appreciate you coming by. For those of you that are new here, my name is Marek. Everyone calls me Bear or Bearski. And once more, I appreciate you for attending. I'll see you in the next one. I think we're gonna go into a quick break and then yeah, go from there. So
You guys, welcome back. It's our first edition of live streaming with the Bearski method. You know, we'll talk about anything and everything that I get into, that I occupy myself with, as I say it. This is not a hobby. As I've mentioned it before, you should probably really take a better care of what you already have, starting with your kids and pets and your own health. It's me, Marek. Everyone calls me Bearski. Chodź. Yep, she's one of the shy ones, but she runs the household. Anywho, I just invite you over for my methods. Basically, the way I find a best way to, or I found the best way to take care of my companions, and doing so on a full spectrum, whether it's piranha fish or a Rottweiler, just a dog. The mentality is the same, you know. You have to approach it for what it is, for what it really is on a biological and on scientific level first, before we add to, you know, our feelings and emotions into it. And yeah, you know, what can I say? The proof is in the pudding. So stay tuned if you want to find out more, if you would like to learn how and, you know, why we employ some of the methods.
Brother, zmierzyłeś.
Yeah. Say something. He's such a meatball, I'm telling you, dude. Such a meatball. All he wants is some attention, like every other dog in our lives, you know. What you could do is basically do them right, provide the best nutrition, and then give them some time, and that's it. That's all they need. Good boy. Yeah.
Good job. Good job. Good job, Nico.
Yes, my friend, just like in the wild, your animal, your carnivorous friend over here is gonna have to earn his meal. He doesn't just wake up and, you know, open up a meat locker and get his food on. He's gotta earn his meal, just like us. So go to the gym, do something productive, and then worry about the sustenance. Hey, what's up, you guys? So quick feeding raw. As you can see, it's still in the bag. Kind of not entirely thawed, but it'll slide out of the bag easily. That's the whole idea. That's all you have to do is get it out of the bag and your job is done.